When I start heavily modding my Skyrim, I go down a rabbit hole of finding the fanciest graphics mods, the flashiest combat overhauls, and gameplay changes that personalise the game into a tailor-made experience. But if you're like me, there are just some mod categories that you just sort of breeze over, with audio mods being a prime example. It's easy to grab a couple of the most popular audio overhauls and call it a day, but honestly it's an injustice to one of the most important aspects of Skyrim. The immersive world space is a huge part of why this game has stood the test of time, and it simply wouldn't be the same without the fantasy sounds surrounding it. And so, this video will be going through a number of audio mods to serve as a guide for your own mod list, and to help find the right ones for you. But before diving in, there's a few things to mention. Firstly, I won't be covering music mods, as there's just so many it could be an entire video on its own. Secondly, I won't be covering UI sounds, as they really depend on what UI overhaul you're using. Like, my personal favourite is paper UI sounds, but of course I wouldn't use it unless I was using the Dear Diary UI. And finally, there's a good few audio mods in this video which cover the same sound effects. So if you download 2 overhaul mods that change dragon sounds for example, you'll have to place the mod you prefer lower in the load order. Anyway, with all that said, let's begin. So to start with, we gotta lay the groundwork of audio mods. Firstly, there's Sound Record Distributor, and putting it simply, it helps resolve compatibility between audio mods. Read the mod page if you're interested in the technicals, otherwise just install it and let it do its thing. You'll also want to grab the unofficial high definition audio project, which updates Skyrim's voices and music to be crisper with less compressed sound files.
Uncle Halvor, hello.
Then it's worth throwing in NPC Dialogue Audio Enhancer, which adjusts voices so they're no longer drowned out by surrounding ambient sounds. And speaking of ambience, the Reverb in Ambience Overhaul adds appropriate amount of echo and reverb to give a sense of distance.
Can't win this stuff. Can't wait to count up your coin.
Then with acoustic space improvement fixes, audio for small interiors no longer sound like they're in a large cave.
Everything's for sale, my friend. Everything. If I had a sister, I'd sell her in a second.
And finally, for this category, we have a couple of all-encompassing overhauls. Now, a lot of people will install one of these mods and leave it at that, and honestly, that works perfectly fine. But even if you'd rather install lots of individual mods, these overhauls are still worth using as a base to make sure you've covered everything. So first, there's Audio Overhaul for Skyrim SE. It covers magic, weapons, creatures, interior and exterior ambience, footsteps for different armor types, and it tweaks the distance at which you hear certain sounds. And the other overhaul is Immersive Sounds Compendium, covering much of the same as the previous mod, although there are a couple extra details, like weapon parrying having unique sounds depending on what 2 weapon types are clashing. Arguably the most important sounds are those of the world, the rustling of trees, splashes of waterfalls, chirps of animals and the echoes within dungeons, all the things that immerse you into the landscape. So first up, we have Sounds of Skyrim Complete, which is a huge mod covering the wilds, towns and cities, and dungeons. And there's Regional Sounds Expansion, which covers the same areas, so it's up to you which you prefer. For some more specific ambience, Thunder Sounds mixes the thunder effects from different weather mods to give them a great rumble. Ambient Bird Sounds Expanded adds new bird audio, which varies depending on the time of day and location. Pairing nicely with this is a tribute to the Kawaii Oo, I hope I pronounced that right, which is much more of a niche mod, but it adds the real chirping of the Kawaii Oo, a bird that's now extinct in the real world. And I don't know, I just find it a sort of sad but wholesome mod. For taverns, BA Bard Songs includes new instrumental tavern songs for bards to play. Lastly, there's the audio mods by Clophus, which are the most recent in this list, and I'll probably have more uploaded by the time you're watching this. As an example of what they offer, there's Ambient Warfare, adding the distant sounds of Imperials and Stormcloaks fighting. Whales off the coast add distant whale sounds near the ocean. And Blackreach Eerie Ambience, which overhauls the vibe of Blackreach. Looking at NPCs and creatures, the Phoenix Compendium serves as a great bundle of mods if you want an overhaul that's quick and easy. These are all the mods it includes, so obviously I can't cover them all, but here's an example of some of the creature changes. If the Phoenix Compendium sounds aren't to your liking, the various creature overhauls uploaded by Pentapox might be what you're looking for, covering undead, dragons, Falmer, and much more. Or instead, there's the creature audio mods by Santa Phoenix, covering an even wider range of creatures. Moving away from the huge bundle of mods, we look at a simple mod that honestly should just be part of the game. It's Skeletons Don't Breathe, which, you know, stops these hollow lungless creatures from heavily breathing. Realistic dog sounds adds real wolfhound barks to Skyrim's pooches. Improved horse step sounds adds new horse steps depending on what surface they're on. Bass dragons takes the vanilla dragon sounds and ups the bass, so now their roar and flapping wings have much more oomph to them. And finally, Fox's no breath sound stops foxes from sounding like they suffer from asthma. For magic sounds, we again look at the mod author Pentapox, who has high fantasy sound mods covering illusion magic, restoration, conjuration, alteration, summoned Atronax, as well as the main destruction spell types. Or for something with a bit more of a modern fantasy vibe, Modern Magic Sounds Rework adds over 100 new sounds across all spell types. Looking at shouts specifically, the Thunder in Shouts mod makes them a slightly lower pitch, while giving them an echo and thunder effect in the background. And we end with a little quality of life feature, where the Quiet Muffle Footsteps mod will actually make your footsteps silent when you use the Muffle spell, or when wearing Muffle Enchanted boots. Combat sounds are certainly down to personal preference, as you have some that provide an over-the-top fantasy vibe, some that are gritty and realistic, and all the sounds in between. So to start off, we once again look at the mod author Pentapox, who has mods covering bladed weapons, blunt weapons, shields, bows and crossbows. I'd say they match Skyrim's level of combat sounds, where it definitely has fantastical impacts, but they're not too over the top.
We are routed! You're mine! What you gonna do? Huh? What you gonna do? All you've got? That's your back!
Or there's improved combat sounds, which have a heavier clashing of metal tone to them, with some more squelches with the gore. Bow's Whisper adds quieter realism to archery. More Painful Death Sounds reuses some voice lines to provide more variety for NPC deaths.
Not the best.
And lastly, Silent Sneak Attack removes the loud thud sound when performing a sneak attack.
Found you.
Also, if you're looking for more combat sounds outside of what I just mentioned, remember the huge audio overhauls I talked about in the first section of this video. And there we have it. Hopefully you now have a good idea of what audio mods are on offer, without feeling overwhelmed by the thousands available on Nexus Mods. And of course, if you have any audio recommendations, name them in the comments for people to find. Thank you for watching. If you gave this video a like, I would really appreciate it, as it does help the channel grow. I think I say this a lot. I assume it's true. I don't know. And all the other stuff, I stream on YouTube and sometimes on Twitch. I have a Discord where we chat about stuff. And I also have a Patreon. And thank you very much to Mr. Zud, Gorthan, Sodoomy, Gavin Van Buren, Connor Peterson, Esteban, John Ratz, Ter Aura, Jaden Shaw, Jake Carlo, Alec Bentley, Jack Ma, and Christian Howell. I really appreciate it. It's because of these contributions I can work on YouTube as much as I do. Life is really hectic at the moment, and it would be easy to just put YouTube aside, and that would probably be the wise thing to do. But with your contributions, I can actually afford to spend more time working on YouTube, and I really do appreciate it, so thank you so much. Thank you everyone, and farewell.